Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So the Daily Wire's Ben Shapiro has been taking a lot of heat recently over his recent comments involving Social Security and the need to be raising the full retirement age and also calling it a Ponzi scheme. Plus, Bernie Sanders has also been getting some backlash as well over some of the comments that he made and the new bill that he actually has of making it so the standard 40-hour work week is now lowered down to 32, so we'll be covering that as well. And then we also had the former vice president and Mike Pence saying that he is not going to be endorsing Donald Trump this time in 2024, and North Korea also claims that they are going to be preparing for war against the United States. But before we go ahead and dive into the main features of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Plus, if you would like to receive up to $10,000 in free stocks or $10,000 in free cash, in a pinned comment below, I will be leaving a link to Moomoo. All you have to do is once you click on that link is just sign up for a free account and then deposit at least $100. At that point, Moomoo will be sending you at least 5 free stocks worth all the way up to $10,000. And if you'd really just have the cash, all you have to do is once you receive the free stocks, is just sell them for what they're worth and then transfer the cash value right back to your bank account. Okay, so diving right into our lead story of today's video, and that involves Mike Pence and saying that he is not going to be endorsing the former president and Donald Trump in 2024. We're going to be covering his reasons here in this article here by The Hill. So according to The Hill, former Vice President Mike Pence said Friday he will not endorse his former boss and two-time running mate in the 2024 general election, a nod to the deep division between the two men that has formed since they left office. Mike Pence said in a comment that it should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year. He went on to say that, look, I'm incredibly proud of the record of our administration. It was a conservative record that made America more prosperous, more secure, and saw conservatives appointed to our courts in a more peaceful world. But that being said, during my presidential campaign, I made clear there were profound differences between me and President Trump on a range of issues. The former vice president told Fox News that his differences with Trump go beyond that day, citing the former president's lack of a plan to confront the national debt, his evasive comments about restrictions on abortion, and his recent opposition to a ban on TikTok, something their administration pursued in 2020. He said that in each of these cases, Donald Trump is pursuing and articulating an agenda that is at odds with the conservative agenda that we governed on during our 4 years, and that's why I cannot, in good conscience, endorse Donald Trump in this campaign. Of course, Pence said that he would not be voting for Biden either, obviously. So let me know what your thoughts and comments are below on Mike Pence saying that he is not going to be endorsing his former boss in Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Ben Shapiro has been getting a lot of heat recently in some comments that he made about Social Security being a Ponzi scheme and the necessity of raising the full retirement age. And of course, we also had Bernie Sanders coming out with a new bill to lower the standard work week from 40 hours per week down to 32 hours per week, and then also making it so employers could not lower the pay while reducing hours by 8 hours. He's been getting a lot of heat for that as well. So we're going to be watching this clip, and then we're going to be coming back to talk about it.
A top conservative pundit getting blowback this week after attacking retirement programs like Social Security and arguing that Americans shouldn't retire at all. Here's Ben Shapiro.
Social Security is a pyramid scheme. It's insane that we haven't raised the retirement age in the United States. No one in the United States should be retiring at 65 years old. Frankly, I think retirement itself is a stupid idea unless you have some sort of health problem.
It's an extreme stance, the idea that nobody should retire. But the main idea that retirement programs are too generous and should get cut is shared by the GOP's presidential nominee.
There is a lot you can do in terms of entitlements, in terms of cutting, and in terms of also the theft and the bad management of entitlements, tremendous bad management of entitlements. There's tremendous amounts of things, numbers of things you can do.
So that is the MAGA position. American workers should just put in more years and get fewer benefits. Now on the left, Bernie Sanders is arguing that workers are getting a raw deal. This week, unveiling legislation to reduce the work week to 32 hours without a reduction in pay. Sanders then getting into a heated exchange with a reporter from Rupert Murdoch's Fox Business Channel.
I think it's time for a shortened work week.
Could I ask you a question about that? It seems like Democrats want businesses to be taxed more,
Really? That's not my assumption.
pay their workers more,
so.
lower prices, and now pay people not to work.
You know what I would like to see?
How are businesses going to survive that? That's the question. How can businesses survive all of those proposals?
When Mr. Bezos pays an effective tax rate lower than the average worker, I think we have a real problem in our tax system. I think that billionaires have got to start paying their fair share.
And there was a time that some Republicans actually agreed with Bernie Sanders. None other than Richard Nixon floated the idea of a 4-day work week back in 1956. Instead, work just got more demanding. Americans now clock in nearly 1,800 work hours per year, which is way more than other advanced nations. We work 300 more hours than our counterparts in England and even more compared to Norway.
Okay, so there are some things that I agree with Ben Shapiro about, and there's also some things that I disagree. So for the first thing, absolutely something needs to be done about the Social Security program. If nothing is done at all, whether we raise taxes or whether we raise the full retirement age or whether we do a better investment of the funds going into Social Security, something absolutely needs to be done. Otherwise, if nothing is done at all, according to the Social Security Trustees report, there is going to be a cut in benefits across the board by anywhere between 20 to 25%. So something does need to be done. Before, we had 5 workers paying into the Social Security Trust Fund for every 1 person receiving the benefits. Right now, we only have 2 workers paying into the Social Security Trust Fund for every 1 person receiving it. So something absolutely needs to be done. Otherwise, we are going to have a cut across the board by 20 to 25%. That absolutely cannot happen. However, one thing that I disagree with Shapiro about is the fact that I don't think we need to be raising the full retirement age because life expectancy has not been increasing over time. And actually, over the past couple of years, the life expectancy rate in the United States has actually been on the decline. Most likely, this is because of the deaths through COVID that took place. Meanwhile, of course, Bernie Sanders has been getting a lot of heat as well for suggesting that we should be lowering the standard work week down to 32 hours from 40 hours. That is in one of his new bills. More than likely, it's not going to pass, but for some people, it's not been all that popular, even though workers would absolutely love this idea. Here is Ken Langone saying why lowering the standard work week down to 32 hours is an absolutely terrible idea. Watch.
A 32-hour work week raises labor costs directly 20%. Why? Because the 8 hours they're not working, you've got to hire somebody else to cover those 8 hours. You're not going to squeeze 40 hours into 32 hours. It's slave labor if you do that. So the only way you're going to be able to work it is to go out and bring in 8 new hours of labor. Who's going to pay for it? Who always pays for it at the end? The consumer. Who gets punished in inflationary periods like right now? The little guy. Food costs are up 15% in the last 2 years. Who's getting hit? The person making $75,000 a year or less. These are the people that get punished. Inflation is the most regressive tax of all. And people don't seem to understand this 32-hour work week, the costs have to be passed on, or the businesses that absorb those costs will no longer be attractive for investment because they won't. We don't have a magic machine here that says, okay, 32 hours, 8 hours less labor, I'll crank this up and I'll get my profits that way. It doesn't work that way, Neil.
So Langone here is saying that basically this is going to cause even more inflation because businesses are going to have to hire more employees to cover the additional 8 hours per day during those shifts. And then, of course, they're going to have to raise prices to make up with having to pay for a higher payroll. Let me know what your thoughts and comments are below on that. Would you like to see the standard work week lowered down to 32 hours? Or do you think this is going to cause even more inflation and make it even more difficult for people to survive in this economy? Now, in our final story for today's video, of course, North Korea's president came out and said that they are going to be preparing for war against South Korea and the United States. They are preparing for war there. So according to The Hill, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un ordered his troops to make preparations for war during an exercise with his troops this week, making the comments as the U.S. and South Korea are wrapping up large-scale military exercises. Kim oversaw a training session for tank crews on Thursday in Pyongyang and praised the ability of the troops participating in the exercise, calling them the most powerful tanks in the world, according to the state-run Korean Central News Agency. The North Korean leader also urged his troops to conduct more training simulations preparing for war, according to KCNA, which reported that Kim called for them to, quote, take revolutionary measures towards perfecting war preparation. So really over the last several years, I think North Korea would say they were preparing for war against the United States. But in 2024, with all the chaos going on, this is news that we do not want to hear. We definitely do not want to get into a large-scale war with all these different countries, North Korea, China, Russia, especially with these countries also having nuclear weapons. But let me know your thoughts in comments below. Do you think something is actually going to come of this? Let me know your thoughts. I would definitely love to read them. But that's all we have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed it and found value out of it. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate it if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. And I will see you in the next video.